Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and we're here for an 8-game NBA slate. Coach, are you ready for a terrific Tuesday?
I am ready for a takedown Tuesday. I am ready, man. Terrific takedown. We'll put them together. But yeah, I'm excited to bounce back. Last night was one of those, injury bug bite you things. I had 3 guys get hurt. How odd is that?
That is rough, especially when you have a pay-up guy like Harden get hurt.
Yeah.
And my hybrid lineup, my cash lineup, it cashed in cash games like we wanted to, even though
Yeah.
Trent got hurt for a little bit but came back.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those lineups that we encourage our members to make sure they're playing heavy amounts of cash so that if it doesn't score in the GPPs, at least you win your 50-50s and double ups. And that's what happened last night.
Yeah, yeah, all part of the coach talk process. You got to grind on nights like that, limit losses, and then that sets the stage for profit and then huge hit nights, which hopefully we have one of those top 1% nights tonight. I love the slate.
Yeah, 8 games, half of the teams involved in a back-to-back, only one total over 230, and only one game at 7 o'clock to get us going.
Yeah, it's all staggered out tonight, which is fun. Last night was insane. Trying to watch those games all at the same time, keep an eye on baseball. The NCAA was starting. It was just mass mayhem. But how about my Baylor Bears? I called it last night. Had a nice plus 185 on the money line last night. I was loving it.
That's terrific. Yeah, they earned it start to finish and
Yeah,
cruise to the title.
I didn't expect a blowout like that. That was surprising, but I did think they had the upper hand. They were playing great ball.
Yeah, they were terrific, no doubt.
Yep, no question about it. Another, again, a big shout out to B. Jordan for taking down our first contest for the NCAA, and JP Wild second. So there you go.
All right, you want to get us started with game one?
I sure do. I would love to. It is the Chicago Bulls at 20 and 28 against the Indiana Pacers at 22 and 26. First night of a back-to-back for Indiana, so that is something to keep an eye on. And as far as injuries in this game, we have Tice and Temple out for Chicago. Kobe White is probable. And then on the Indiana side, big news here, 2 starters and a rotation player. Sabonis, Brogdon, and Lamb all questionable. So we got to keep a close eye. That's going to obviously change the dynamics of this game based on that information. Vegas has it. By the way, I'll tell you what, Vegas was right on having the Mavs only a 5-point dog. The Mavs kicked butt.
Yeah.
So you don't argue with Vegas. When it looks like it's skewed, stick with them. That's my best advice. But
Right.
that was, how about the Mavs performance too, by the way?
Yeah.
Hate to jump the gun here, but I was so impressed with that win. All right, back to this. So we've got a pick'em game for Vegas, 226, which is a really healthy number on, I believe it's the tied for the second highest on the whole board here. And that's mainly because we have 2 really strong pace teams, 9th and 8th. And defensively, Chicago's 20th, Indiana's 11th. So definitely potential for some good DFS points here. With Kobe White coming back, that takes a little bit of the bite out of Satoransky, who's done a fine job. I think he's still going to start. But the question is he going to get enough minutes to make an impact on an 8-game slate is what we have to figure. Levine is back now. He was dinged a little bit. He played the last game, but I think he's closer to 100%. So you can expect a little bit more from him as well. You always have your go-to value guy, Patrick Williams, but you could get 7, you could get 30. So, more of a GPP kind of play. Thad Young's been good. He's been consistent. He's getting the good minutes and he fills up the stat sheet with different stuff. The question is his usage. It's low and, they don't run much for him, but he's always an option, priced so. The guy that, I want to focus a little bit on is Vuk. Vuk seems to have now after it's been a couple of weeks since he's been there. He's got some games under his belt with these guys, and they're starting to utilize him a lot more. So I know he's expensive, but he's not as expensive as he was. And I think that he needs to be considered, especially if Sabonis is out. So we got to watch that closely. It's hard to, say on the Indiana side because we need that news. But if those guys just happen to all be out or two of the three are out, I think, you got to look at LeVert as a strong play. Miles Turner steps way up with Sabonis out. Usage, rebounding jumps up. And then for the two guys that have been consistent value and often pay off, they're not going to break the slate, but 5-6x, and that's Holiday or McDermott. So there's some depth in this game, some value on the Indiana side if those guys sit, and some pay up potential for a few guys here as well. But I do like the game. I'm going to have some exposure, but I need the news to finalize who's going to be in and out.
Yeah, on the Chicago side, if I was going to pay up between Vuk or Levine, I would go with Vuk, but I don't think I'm going to go there tonight. I like a couple of the other center options later in the slate, so I think I would be most likely to play Thaddeus Young, if anyone, from Chicago.
Okay.
I think with Tice out, he'll get a few more minutes, so I like that little bit of a bump. And then I don't like Kobe White coming back for Satoransky, in addition to Satoransky's price going up. So
Yeah, that's
probably
not
going to
cool.
yeah, it's probably going to be Thaddeus Young or pass on the Chicago side for me. And Indiana, only if those guys are out, then I would look at LeVert, TJ McConnell also, and then Doug McDermott would be my three favorite targets. Holiday would be a GPP option as well.
Very interesting. And I want, before you jump to this next game, I got to tell you, I don't know if you can't see my notes there, but I have cheat sheet notes. And this is the very first time that I couldn't fit all the injuries into my little box there. Did you
Yeah.
see how many guys are out for these two teams?
Which one? New Orleans, Atlanta?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a big chunk.
I've
And some
got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 guys written down.
really, I think I
Yeah.
only wrote down about two-thirds of that because of some
Yeah.
of the guys who've just been out for a while.
I know. I put everybody today for the hell of it. I'll read it to you and tell me if you have anybody different, because
Okay.
I had to go to the secondary sheet. I thought, this is a first. I got to point this one out. So I have Ingram is questionable, Adams is questionable, Zion questionable, Lewis doubtful, Hart and Nikhil Alexander Walker out. And so that's a lot of guys. And I have Isaiah Thomas in.
Yes,
That Isaiah Thomas.
that's right.
How about that, man? And then for Atlanta, I have Hunter out, Collins out, Dunn out, Reddish out, and Capella probable. So there we go, the dirty dozen in that game.
Right, exactly. So let's start with Isaiah Thomas. How about
How
this
about it?
story?
Yeah.
This is let's break down the situation here. We have a 32-year-old Isaiah Thomas who
Mm-hmm.
not too long ago was a finalist for the MVP of the league. And
Yeah.
now he's on a 10-day contract. And we heard a lot about backing up the Brinks truck. And he's been humbled since then because he didn't get the huge payday. He's been hurt. He's bounced around. But now that he's back on a 10-day contract, I mean, I think it's all systems go for IT. He's not coming in there to, play pass first point guard. Whenever he gets out there, he is going to jack. He's going to be aggressive. And I would also think that he's going to be ready to go. I mean, he's not going to come out there and need to be on a minutes restriction. He's going to be ready to go full tilt for as many minutes as they'll give him. And I love his price on FanDuel, 3,900.
Yeah.
Against Atlanta, which is a slower paced team, but they're 19th defensively. And I think he's likely to come off the bench and most likely play against a guy like Lou Williams, who's not known for his defense.
That's a definitely Ole defenses
Exactly.
facing off.
Both of them going against each other. I like both those guys off the bench tonight. So IT is definitely in play for me. He's a little bit pricier on DraftKings, but he's in my initial build on FanDuel. And then with the starters, we'll just have to see about Zion and Ingram. Some massive dominoes there. But Lonzo, man, did he come out of the gates?
He sure did.
Eight for 15 on 3-pointers in his first game back, putting
Yeah.
him now at 39% on the season from deep. So what an impressive turnaround from him with his shooting. Pretty good game situation for him. I think he's playable. James Johnson, if he starts again, he's been priced up, but he's just playing phenomenal basketball. I
Yeah.
mean,
It makes me sad that he's no longer a Maverick. He's playing unbelievable.
yeah, it just didn't work out there in Dallas, but he's
No,
really taking advantage of this opportunity. He had a full line in the last game, plus 6 stocks. So
unbelievable.
he's just phenomenal right now. And then we'll see about Adams, but Billy Hernan Gomez is an option as well, depending on the news. If Zion and Adams are out, he's a decent price tag. On the Atlanta side, with these all those guys out that you mentioned, the last lineup they put out there had Trae Young, Bogdan, and Herter all in the starting lineup together,
Yeah.
which I don't really like for any of the three of those, especially at their
No,
prices.
not
Bogdan,
enough basketballs to go around at the 3-point line, you know?
yeah, I mean, if you look at the last game, Trae took 11 shots, Bogdan 10, Herter 11, and that's not really enough for any of them. I
No.
mean, Herter could pay off at that price tag, but not playing next to Trae and Bogdan. So I'm not really interested in those guys. It probably would be Lou Williams or pass for me. Gallinari would be an option as well. I mean, this is a good matchup for Atlanta. You know, New Orleans is 28th defensively, middle of the road pace, and Atlanta just crushed them about a week ago. Trae Young didn't even play. I know that
Yeah.
all the key guys were out for New Orleans, but the bottom line is it's a good situation for Atlanta, and I like how Lou Williams, when he's out there, it's going to be his show if Herter is in the starting lineup. So could get one or the other bench guys here, one or the other bench veteran guards.
I'll tell you, man, this game just gives me an absolute stomach ache because it is there's so much volatility to this. I mean, I hate to do this on these podcasts with games because I know people tune in and they want our advice, and you know, we put it all out there, but I don't know what to suggest here. I mean, you've got two teams on the first night of a back-to-back. You've got a low line at 3.5, so it should stay close. And 228's a darn good number. That's actually the second highest, not 226. So, you know, it makes you want to play guys here, but I don't even know where to begin until we get some of this news. I mean, you know, guys like Johnson are phenomenal plays, but not if Zion, you know, and Ingram are back. Lonzo's probably 100% lock and load in every lineup for me if Ingram and Zion sit. But, you know, if is a big word, you know, even though it's 2 letters. So I need to see what's going to happen with the news here. I do agree with you, though. This Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Herter thing is sort of a nightmare if you're a DFS player, because there's just no way that any of them are going to get enough shots up that they need to, and they're all going to want to take them. So hopefully Atlanta shuffles their guys back in and they, you know, put Herter in that role off the bench again and let Young and Bogdanovich at least get 15, 16 shots each. That's got to be the min to pay off their number now that Bogdanovich has gone up. So, yeah, I wish I could be more specific about this game. It could end up a game where I have like 3 guys, or it could easily be a game where I have nobody. So I do want to mention again, though, because it's hard to wrap your arms around for everybody, is Atlanta, since McMillan took over, has played really good defense. I mean, it's hard to believe, but they have played slow and they've played good half-court defense. So the days where you expected the Trae Young Atlanta running gun teams to, you know, score 130 and give up 128 are pretty much over. They're winning in a new, you know, manner with pretty much the same guys. So I'm going to have to take a wait and see on this one, Andrew, and then go from there.
All right.
All right. 7:30 game also is Philadelphia at Boston. Boston's on the first night of a back-to-back. We've got Philly at 34-16. Boston hovering around 500 at 25-25, trying to get it going. This is only a 1-point favoritism for Philly on the road, which is pretty impressive. And it's a 223 total. We know that Maxey is probable for Philly after, I believe, missed the last game. And the only guy out for Boston right now is Fournier, who's going to sit this one out. We've got pace of Philadelphia at 7th and Boston 21. Philly, the second best defense in the league, but they got manhandled the last game. So who knows where that's at. And then 16th for Boston. Interesting game. I mean, you've got two teams that battle pretty hard. They're not real fond of each other. And you've got some big prices to pay. But, the question is, do you want to pay up for the Simmons, Harris, Embiid, Brown, or Tatums? You got 5 big pay up guys that you could really soak a lot of your salary right here. And I think these two teams are good enough defensively, and there's most of their good players back. I know Fournier's had pretty good usage since he's gone there, but I think the ball gets shared now that Williams is the starting center. He's getting some decent usage. Marcus Smart stepped up last game, and you never know. Kemba can throw a really good game in. I wouldn't recommend him because he's been so incredibly inconsistent. But the bottom line is there's a lot of usage spread there where we've had several games where 2 of the top guys are out and you can focus or pay up for a guy and feel good about it. Same thing with Philly. I mean, it's just a different world. You've got Harris priced way up now because of his performance when Embiid was out. Simmons, same thing. So I know there's great plays here, and you may need a guy or two from this game in the optimal lineup, Andrew. And you're the Boston specialist, so maybe you can shine some light on this. But there's not enough value on any of these guys for me on this slate where you can really get players at the same level and not use as much salary. So I very reluctantly am passing right now on this game. But, things may change as the night goes on unless you got a gem for me you can talk me into.
Well, I think 1 or 2 guys here from the Boston side could work for me. You mentioned how these teams don't like each other, and that goes back a long way. And guys like Marcus Smart step up for this type of matchup. He's a good price here. Been playing pretty well lately, and when he gets full minutes, which he has gotten, if it's not a blowout or back-to-back, et cetera. I mean, this is a front end, but if he gets 30 minutes, he's been playing pretty well. So I like him as a potential. He's probably my favorite play in this game.
Okay.
Or I might go a little bit higher and look at Jaylen Brown. He's that much cheaper than Tatum, and he's had some games where he's been more productive than Tatum recently. Yeah. So
I'm a little afraid of Danny Green defense, though. He played him pretty tough last time.
Well, I mean, the last time Jaylen actually had a big game against Philly, but Tatum was out, so obviously he got more shots.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, yep. So it's not like he's a key play for me or my favorite play on the board, but those are probably the 2 Celtics I would look at. And I do want to mention Evan Fournier, who that first night with Boston, he could not hit anything. And then it may have gone under the radar for some folks, but a couple games back, he scored 20 points in the 4th quarter.
I know.
And hit a ton of threes. Didn't do too much else besides score. But then last game, 17 points and 6 assists. So he's definitely starting to get in the groove. And I think he really benefited from that high-scoring 4th quarter because the Celtics teammates were really supportive of him and happy for him after that dud in his first game. And he's 5,900 on DraftKings, which is another solid price. So those are the guys I would consider.
Well, Fournier's out.
Is he?
Yeah, he got ruled out this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that news. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, hey, how about maybe a couple extra minutes for Marcus Smart then?
Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, I think, it gets my attention because of Fournier. I mean, Fournier shoots the ball, period, whether it's going in or not. So I'm with you. I think those 2 guys are the 2 guys I'd look at price-wise too.
Excellent. And then
Any love for Robert Williams, by the way?
I don't know if I'll go there with the Embiid matchup.
Yeah.
I like Ennis Cantor here later in the slate, who's a little bit
Yeah.
cheaper.
I'm with you.
And
Cantor's going to be chalk city, but it's
yeah,
worth it. Yeah.
yeah. And I want to mention that Embiid is averaging 40 and 10 against Boston this year.
Is that all?
That's all in 2 games. So he's gotten up for it. But both of those games were really the key defenders there were Tristan Thompson and Tice.
Right.
And it'll be Williams tonight. So I'm not going to pay up for Embiid since he's also just coming back in the lineup. Only played 29 minutes last game.
If I knew he was getting mid-30s minutes, I'd be all over him too, no doubt.
All right, game 4. Let's go to the Lakers and Toronto. Another 7:30 tip down in Florida. We've got Toronto as 2.5-point favorites after that 2-point win last night over Washington. Island game for the Lakers. Low total here, only 210. And for injury news, we have Drummond questionable, Wesley Matthews questionable. With Toronto, we've got to call Fred VanVleet questionable after he was ruled out last night. Rodney Hood questionable. I'm going to say that Watson and McCaw are doubtful. They've been out for a bit. And Lowry, of course, is out. So let's start with the Lakers side. If Drummond plays, that mixes up the front court rotation quite a bit. Gasol, who's been back in the starting lineup, might get pushed aside. If Gasol starts, interesting little rematch against his former team at 3,900 on both sites. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets a little extra motivation here and gets fired up. But I don't really think I'm going to get to the Lakers side here. Schroeder and Kuzma have come down a little bit in price, but Toronto's still solid defensively. They're 12th, and just not expecting a real high-scoring game here. So it's probably more likely that I would get one of the guys on Toronto. I don't really want to stack a bunch of guys over there either. But if VanVleet is out, Bembry was awesome as a spot starter last night. He's still really cheap. Flynn was amazing, even though he came off the bench. He had 7 stocks.
Unbelievable game he had. And everybody scratched him because he got pulled from the starting lineup and then bang.
Yeah. 34 minutes. He really stepped up.
Amazing.
So if Bembry starts again, he's probably my favorite play from this game, and otherwise it might be a pass.
Yeah, this is somewhat of a train wreck. I'll tell you how far have the Lakers tumbled though. They're a 2-point dog against a Toronto team that doesn't have Lowry or VanVleet playing probably. It's just like total collapse. I'll tell you, watching the Lakers in some of these late games, because that's all that's left on the slate, or we're playing after hours with them, they are painful to watch right now. I mean, they stink. And, Drummond, I don't know what to trust there. He's playing, his toenail fell off. So who knows if he can get full run and all that baloney. And then you got, the jam up with Harrell and Gasol also trying to sneak in there. So I don't want to mess with any of that. I'll tell you, Morris has been steady, but again, I don't see the reason to push anything there. On the Toronto side, is Flynn going to be able to do that again off the bench? Is Bembry going to be able to do that again in the starting lineup? I mean, those are the two value guys, but I'm not sure you can't go to both really. So you got to sort of determine, in my opinion, which guys the better go to. I actually sort of like Trent and Anunoby the best, though. I mean, Trent's priced okay. Anunoby's too high price, but he just gets a little bit of everything and can usually get there. Siakam should be a plug and play under the circumstances because, with the backcourt being out, but you just, the consistency there with that high price tag is a little bit of a concern, especially if they have some beefed up interior defenders. Gasol will play him tough if he's in there, and Drummond is certainly a big body, and Harrell. So, not sure I want to spend up on Siakam, but I think he makes perfect sense. Boucher is the other guy. He's inserted into the starting lineup. we think again. And, but the question always is he going to get enough minutes? Nurse really treats him bizarre. Sometimes he just blows it up in 28 minutes. And then sometimes all of a sudden you're seeing a 16-minute game with, 14 fantasy points. So hard to trust. Perfect guy for a GPP that could win, bring down a tournament for you, but a little bit of danger there. So I like the Toronto side with you. I agree. I think a guy or two from Toronto makes sense in this matchup. And not loving the Lakers side at all. And again, with this low total, it's not a very exciting game.
All right. Well, I'm not too excited about the 8 o'clock game. Are you?
Memphis and Miami?
That's right.
Oh, heck yeah. Why not? No, I'm just kidding. It's interesting. Memphis on the first night of a back-to-back. It is an island game for Miami, if that matters, which it does a little bit, I think. You've got a fast-paced Memphis team at 6. Miami, of course, at 27. They're going to grind you. And then defensively, here's the problem, and that's probably what you're alluding to, 7th and 5th. So you've got two top 7 defenses. The number's 218. Memphis being a is this correct? Memphis a 5-point favorite? That's got to be wrong.
Miami is the 5-point favorite.
Okay, I marked it wrong. I knew it was wrong. It had to be. If so, I was going to delay this podcast and go make all the bets I could make. I wish I could get Miami +5.
Yeah.
I have Memphis with Winslow and Melton out and Clark questionable. And I don't have anybody written down for Miami. Is that correct?
Just that Okpala is still out. And
oh, God, that changes the slate for me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, you take a look at this newfangled Miami. How about this defensive lineup? Oladipo, Robinson, who's okay. He's a little underrated defensively. Butler, Ariza, and Bam. That sounds like stellar, tough defense. Don't be surprised if they don't continue to climb up the ladder. Do you remember when Miami, and I remember it distinctly, they were 21st defensively before, in the first 10 games without Butler and everything.
Right.
And I couldn't believe a Spoelstra team was in below 20. Now they're 5th with a bullet. Don't be surprised if they don't finish in the top 3 defensively with this new unit. They're fun. So in saying that, it's hard to go to Memphis here. Jaw's price is a little up. Joe Val's price is up. I don't think you get quite enough from the Allens and Andersons, and Brooks being guarded by Butler. No. So Memphis is going to be a simple pass for me tonight. Here's the problem with Miami now. We're back on that scenario where it's opposite of what it was before. Now they're loaded with guys. They have a big 8 or 9 man rotation. And, the question is, does Spoelstra let these guys start getting a lot of minutes on the court together? I think he will, to develop that chemistry. This is game number 51 for them in a 72 game season. So, you got your final 19 games to get this team ready for a playoff run. And with the likes of Oladipo and Ariza, being late to the party here, I think they need to develop continuity. I think Miami's going to be a good play on a lot of nights with some of their key DFS guys because of that. But the negative side of it, like I'm saying, is there is going to be a little bit of, spreading out of the usage. There were games where, Duncan Robinson's going to get his threes up, and Butler's going to have, all 5 categories covered, and Bam is going to be steady. But now you've got Oladipo, who's ball dominant, needs the ball, wants to score, is going to shoot it. You've got Trevor Ariza, who has been putting up a lot of shots, getting big minutes for them, which I'm surprised right out of the gate that he's doing that. And then, what about all the guys off the bench now? The Kendrick Nuns and Tyler Heroes on down the line. These guys were, leading the team in shots attempted for some of those games when everybody was out. So, I'm not going to go to him in this particular game because I think it'll be slower and the defense from Memphis is respectable. But, I think pulling a guy from Miami and determining who's going to be key in that particular matchup each day is going to be significant, because I think you're going to see good minutes for those top guys, but they're a dangerous team, and they're dangerous because they could get 20 points from any of like 8 or 9 guys. So a little concerned DFS wise. And, so this again is, there's several games here I just don't like today. There's just some rough matchups, unless you see it any differently.
Well, I don't want to pay up for any of the starters here, the pay up guys for the reasons you mentioned. Because it's the front end of a back-to-back for Memphis, that's almost like a complete red flag for me because they really limit their minutes often in this scenario. And then
Yeah.
Miami, like you said, it's an island game for them. Plus, they've actually had 3 days off. So you've got their top 5 defense with their legs rested.
Yikes.
That's a doomsday scenario for Memphis.
Yeah.
There's a value play that could pop up on either side for me, though. On the Memphis side, if Brandon Clark is out, I could see Kyle Anderson getting a few more minutes. He's a nice price tag on both sites. And then with the bench guys, because Winslow and Melton are out, I could see Tyus Jones or Bain paying off their price tag, but it's not like I'm excited to play either one of them. I think they're both pretty risky.
Right.
I just think that those are the 3 guys most likely to hit value. And then with Miami on the bench, Bielitsa finally got comfortable in the last game, 24 minutes, 10, 7, and 5. He's only 3,200 on DraftKings. So that's an option, although I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with Iguodala being back in the lineup. He missed that game.
Right.
So I think that's also risky. Dragic at 4,800 on both sites is probably the guy that's most likely to hit value for Miami for me. But like you said, it really has gotten spread thin because in the last game, none got a DNP coach's decision
Unbelievable.
because of Oladipo. So
And he
it
played
is
38 minutes in a game last week.
right.
I mean, how is he going to get minutes for these guys?
It's going to be tough. So yeah, Miami's going to be a fade city lots of nights unless the prices go down.
I'm with you. They have to adjust because the usage is spread. Butler's going to go from super owned all the time to hardly owned at all.
Yeah, and from 10K maybe down to mid 7K, and then we'll jump on him at that point.
Exactly.
All right, we have one 9 o'clock game. It's Detroit in Denver, and this is the return of Jeremy Grant and Plumlee to town. That'll be exciting. These teams were supposed to play earlier in the season and got postponed. So this is the first rematch. We talked about it on that show, but now we actually get to see it in Denver. And I like the possibilities for both guys. I think I'm leaning Jeremy Grant here. It is a back-to-back for him, but he only played 23 minutes last night, and he was terrific, 21, 5, and 5 as they blew out Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Remember, that was the game Plumlee sat out, so Stewart started.
Right.
He smashed, but then didn't end up playing tons of minutes in the second half.
No.
And the guard rotation was just like we talked about. Last night, it was 6 guys who played between 16 and 25 minutes.
Crazy.
Ellington didn't even play. Dennis Smith Jr. got a DNP CD. So with them back in the mix tonight, Magruder questionable.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to go to any of the Detroit guards, even though a lot of them are pretty cheap. I'm just going to look at Jeremy Grant, possibly Plumlee. We do have a slow pace game though here, 22 and 29, low total of 215. Denver huge favorites here, 14 points.
Yeah.
So on the Denver side, this is the front end of a back-to-back. And this is another situation a little bit like Miami. If you look at the last game for those starters, now that Aaron Gordon's in the mix, all 5 starters took between 11 and 18 shots. So it's a great scenario for the Fighting Joe Stantons to have a balanced lineup of awesome talent.
Yeah.
But a lot tougher for these guys to hit value.
Yeah. What are they doing to us in DFS? They're trying to squeeze us out here. This isn't any fun.
They're forgetting all about us.
I know it.
Jokic is still incredible. He took 11 shots last game and got over 50 fantasy points. So he's
insane.
One of the few guys who can do it. He had 16 assists. But he's still well over 10K. So don't think I'll go there. In fact, I don't really think I'll go to any of these Denver starters. And now the bench guys are getting fewer minutes. Millsap was down to 6 minutes. JaMychal Green only 13. So this is a pass on the Denver side for me, but maybe Jeremy Grant would be my leading candidate to make a roster.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a broken record for me today. I mean, this slate is just weird. I mean, this is another scenario. This is the biggest spread on the board. Certainly has the potential to blow out. Detroit's sort of hitting the skids now. Finally, they were playing sort of tough for a while from what they had, but they're not good. And that whole guard situation, even into the small four, the 1, 2, 3 with Detroit, good luck. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I mean, I think all of us have been burned at least once by either Lee or Smith Jr. or Jackson, or I could go on and on. They got 8 guys in those 3 spots, and they can go from leading in minutes to not playing at all, and that's frustrating because they don't want to win. They could care less. They'll be happy to try to get the number 1 pick. So it's a disaster in that area. Obviously, Grant and Plumlee, the emotions being back in Denver, how is that going to affect them? They both are gamers. They both play hard. So I don't think they'll shy to the attention. I think they'll both step up. Plumlee sat the last game, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was really getting tuned up for this game. I mean, I guarantee you that's why he sat.
Yep.
So I'm interested in Grant and Plumlee. I know it sounds like it's a slow drive down narrative street here, but they're 2 guys that were meant a lot to that franchise. They're real tight, with Jokic and all those guys. So I think they play their tails off here, and I think you can consider both of them, or at least one or the other, to get it done. There's always a fear with Plumlee trying to guard the Joker. Is he going to get in foul trouble? But if anybody knows the Joker's moves, it's Plumlee, because he played against him in practice for a couple of years. So, I'm interested in the bigs for Detroit for that reason, if they can stay in the game. I'm with you on Denver, though. We've got Miami light here, is what I would call it. I mean, you got about 9 guys in a rotation. Forget about like the PJ Doziers and these guys that we were so high on for a while. Morris is back in the mix now. Just way too many shots to go around again. Aaron Gordon looks good, but what is his role going to be as far as, is he going to be able to pay his salary off? Porter, I would think, wants to have a big game here to show that, letting Grant go to free agency was a good move to make way for him. So, I mean, there is some extra motivation here that I think will turn up a few notches, but you also have to be afraid of the blowout. So there are multiple things to concern yourself with. Like I say, the 2 bigs for Detroit are in play possibly for me. And really my favorite Denver guy is Porter here. I think he's got the most to prove, and he's proven when he's hot, he's going to make a lot of shots. But I'm not ecstatic. None of these guys are going to be just locking loads, but try to get a little bit of exposure here, because I think it'll be a highly emotional, intense game.
Yes, indeed.
All right, the first 10 o'clock game, part of the 2-game after-hours slate, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks at the Golden State Warriors. This one is the battle of strong defenses, but good pace, and a great number, 235. I get the 230 game again.
Of course.
By chance, I always get it. And it's, it should be very interesting. We've got the second and third best defensive efficient teams, or I'm sorry, pace teams is what I was trying to say. So you got, the ball, it's going to get up and down the floor. How is Golden State going to respond after getting absolutely murdered in their last game? But they're 8th and 10th. So you got great speed, but 2 top 10 defenses, which is a little bit of a concern. Milwaukee, who's hitting their stride, is a 6.5-point favorite, which isn't bad. That's fair considering Golden State dropped the game by 50 this week. So,
right.
And then that big total gets you excited. What I have is Giannis is probable, so I'm definitely counting him in. PJ Tucker still hasn't really, he only got that one little bit of run. He's out. Pascal out for Golden State, and they've already ruled Curry in. So I think they wanted to say to Warriors fans, please still watch. We're not going to get beat by 55 again. So where do we go here? Drew Holiday was player of the week. So, you got to give him a big, tip of the hat. Luka was in the West, but Drew Holiday earned it, picked a good time to sign a huge 3-year extension. Love the way he's playing. And I'm not playing Curry because of Holiday defense, but I like Holiday against Curry defense. So I know that that's tough for we have a couple of big Golden State Warriors fans as members, but I like Holiday here. I'm real comfortable in this game with this pace. I think he's one of the beneficiaries of the fact that the backcourt for Golden State has not been good defensively, even though the rest of the team has been pretty good. As far as the old Middleton and Giannis argument here, Middleton again is a little bit better play because of the huge price difference. I think, this game sets up well for him also. Giannis, hard to fade Giannis anytime, but Golden State, you got to respect their defense. They're still, in a top 10 defense. How to get angles, take charges on Giannis, strip the ball. He gives them a little bit of trouble. But I think Giannis is a terrific play, but it does handcuff you if you spend that far up. I haven't played Lopez in a long time and really don't plan on playing him probably the rest of the season because he stinks, Andrew. It's that simple. So expect Brook to get 50 fantasy points tonight. Wiggins, scoring dependent, agitating to watch at times, but can have a decent game. Oubre with Middleton, tough. Draymond Green, if you can stomach him taking 2 shots maybe in this game and still getting 35 fantasy points, whatever, if that's enough for you, maybe. Weissman's on the huge splits of minutes with the bigs. So, for me really here, it's Holiday, maybe Middleton. And on the Golden State side, not jumping out of my seat for anybody since I'm fading Curry. Oubre's still a little priced too high, but potential there. So I'll tell you what, man, of all the slates this year, this is the toughest I've had putting a complete roster of guys together that I feel comfortable with. If you've noticed on this show, I probably only recommended like 5 guys. So, I need some of that news to drop in some of these other games to fill everybody in. But it's just one of those odd mismatched nights where we've got tough defense and just slow pace games all jammed together. So I don't know. That's the best I can do on that one.
Yeah, some of these pay up options on this slate are tough. And, this is no exception here because it's the best total on the board. I'd like to get some exposure to it, but I don't think they're real slam dunk plays because of Giannis's huge price and the fact that he's back out there.
Yeah.
I think Drew Holiday can only backtrack a little bit. He's been phenomenal.
Out of his mind, yeah.
Now that he's signed that contract extension, maybe he comes back down to earth a little bit with Middleton and Giannis both out there. And Middleton has the much better price than Giannis, but man, was he disappointing against Sacramento.
Yeah, he laid an egg.
Just a bad shooting night. So
yeah,
he could come right back and get back in the 40 fantasy point range, no problem. Connaughton or Dante DiVincenzo, maybe one of those guys picks it up in this high-paced game. That wouldn't surprise me. With Golden State, I wouldn't mind getting Steph out there. Obviously, it'll be a tough matchup with Drew, but I don't know. You got to spend your money somewhere.
I know. It's a strange opposite thing. Usually we're jamming trying to get value, but yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah. And I like how Steph is now back in the lineup, and he scored 37 in the last game. So he's obviously recovered from the tailbone issue. Yeah. And I think these guys are going to be motivated. You mentioned the huge blowout loss this week. Plus, when they played Milwaukee on Christmas, they lost by 39. Ooh. Now, Draymond did not play that game. and he's obviously back in the groove here. And he's been flirting with triple doubles lately. And do you know that, he had the game where he didn't shoot at all? He's actually shot 6 or 7 times at least in the last 3 games. So
I know
when you get
it's
Draymond shooting a few times, that's the time to roll him out there. So
when you get excited, we get excited if he takes 6 shots. We're like, okay, he's rosterable.
yeah,
There's no
he's
other
into it.
player in the league that you could say that about.
Exactly. Yeah, so this will be a good one to watch. Second game on TNT. I think I'll have Draymond in a lot of lineups because of how he's been playing lately, and he's a decent price on both sites. So there
Interesting.
you go.
Yep.
All
No
right.
Lopez for you though, huh? You're
No,
with me.
although the thing about Lopez is funny. I feel like he's one of those guys. Every time I watch him shoot, he makes it, and then I
Yeah.
don't understand how he doesn't get 35 or 40 fantasy points a night
Yeah.
because he's obviously going to get some rebounds too. But he'll just come out and score 23 fantasy points in the first quarter and then disappear. That's
You know
that's
what's
how he
killed
rolls.
him this year? Bobby Portis. I mean,
Yeah.
he's taken that chunk away from Lopez where you could get away with a cheap center at times. He just doesn't get it done. Portis actually, to me, is a better play, really,
Yep.
if he gets the minutes.
Right. All right. Last game of the night, Portland against the Clippers. 229.5 total. Clippers favored by 5.5.
Yeah.
Island game for both teams. The news here, we've got Nurkic out
Yeah.
and Derek Jones Jr. probable to get back in the lineup with a quad issue. On the Clippers side, we have Serge Ibaka still out, Patrick Beverley questionable to get back
Yeah.
out there. Now, this is one of the highest totals on the board, second highest total on the board. When I wrote down the numbers, even though it's a slow pace game, Portland 19th, Clippers 27th. Clippers have the good defense, top 10, but these are awesome offenses. Portland number 6, Clippers number 2. Portland has the bad defense, of course, 29th. So considering all the variables, it's a decent game environment on this slate. But we do have all the stars, so it's a little bit of a crowded situation. Lillard's had a hard time smashing value with CJ McCollum back in the mix.
Yeah.
And I
Big
think
time.
I probably would lean McCollum here with the big price discount. Be interesting to see if Beverly plays and can add to the defensive prowess of the Clippers. They did a great job on Lillard when they met up earlier in the season. So I probably won't pay up for Lillard. I'd lean towards McCollum. But I do really like Cantor here with Nurkic out. Good matchup against Zubats. And Cantor's been doing well off the bench here in limited minutes. So I like his spot here. On the Clippers side, I may just have enough money to pay up for Kawhi, coach, who is one of those guys that's almost a lock for 45 to 50 fantasy points. So you feel pretty good about him in any format in the 9K range. Marcus Morris has been great.
Oh, I'll tell you what, he's been my MVP the last couple of weeks. That dude
Yeah,
just gets 8x every night.
yeah, he's just shooting it so well from 3-point
Crazy.
land.
Yeah.
If he gets some Covington defense, it'll be a little bit tougher, but maybe
Yeah.
Covington will spend some time on Kawhi
I
and he'll get
hope.
some Norman Powell defense. So a decent opportunity for Morris, especially on that after-hours slate to find the lineup. And then Zubats as well. I like his matchup against Cantor. Don't know if I'll get to anybody on the bench for the Clippers. We've got Rondo in the mix now. He takes a little bit away from Mann and Kennard. So I'm looking at Kawhi, Cantor, and maybe another piece from this game.
Excellent. Here, I'll give you the sound effect. Beep, beep, beep. You know what that means?
What does that mean?
Backing up the Brinks truck. This is where I'm spending all my money.
Okay.
This is a game I've been waiting for. So for our members, don't freak out if we're just in the middle of the pack and not looking like it's going to be a super night, because this is where I'm going to unload the truck here, spend the money, and buy up. I've been waiting all night. And usually that doesn't work out for me. I got early games more, but I think this is a Dame time game. I really do. I think he's due. It's a good scenario. Clippers right now, there's a little bit of confusion. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. And you touched on it. I mean, Reggie Jackson could be the odd man out. Rondo, even though in a very limited role, looked really good running the show for the Clippers. So he's going to get minutes. It's interesting that as soon as Rondo signed and played, all of a sudden Beverly's now possibly going to play. I think he wants to keep his spot in there. And then Terrence Mann, is earned minutes. So you got a lot of point guard shifting and splitting. I think Dame could eat some of that, and I'm going to go that direction. So I like him a lot. I think Enes Kanter is a huge play tonight, probably going to be my center. But I like Zubats with you on the other side. I could play both on DraftKings and Yahoo because just a good setting for both guys. I mean, don't forget Portland is second to last in the entire league in defense. It's only that famous 5.5 point spread. And I'm going to stick with Vegas that this doesn't blow out and it stays a game. So, I think, Enes Kanter, Zubats, Lillard, and then I'm with you. I think the other pay up guy that I like tonight is Kawhi. I don't think Covington goes on him that much. I think he sticks with Morris. And even though Morris has been my MVP the last couple of weeks, I think this becomes more of a Kawhi spot. And I prefer him over George. So again, half my salary is going to probably be spent in this game just with the two pay-ups of Lillard and Kawhi. And then I like the bigs also. So I'd be very surprised if I didn't have 4 guys out of this game and hoping for one of those late night sweat takedowns.
Yes, sir. I hope so as well. And we invite you to join us for those lineups that Coach is referencing as a member. Great time to join. Go to dfscoachtalk.com and pick up whichever length of membership you'd like. We'll get you into our Discord with an email, and we give out full lineups on FanDuel, cash lineups, a GPP lineup, full lineup on Yahoo, and then the DraftKings Coaches Clipboard with highlighted core plays, and then a bunch of options to fill out your lineup. And as you can see on or as you have seen here recently, we still have the BetUS offer. If you can make your first deposit there, $149, use the promo code CoachTalk, then you can use that $149 for all your sports wagering action and get a free membership with us all the way until June 1st with access to all of our lineups in all of our sports. So we'd love to have you. Any questions? Find us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. You can find the coach at JOESARVADI. And you can find me at Language Olympic. Coach, any final thoughts here?
Oh, just excited about tonight's slate. We'd love to have you. If on the way out here, if you could take a half a second, click the thumbs up, the subscribe button, and click the little alert on the upper corner. That really, really helps us just get the word out and grow our YouTube channel. So we'd really appreciate it. Also, extremely excited about the Masters. We're going to have a show coming out later this afternoon for our PGA Weekly for the Masters. And we have an awesome contest just for members only with some real Masters prizes, some Pro V1s, a hat, all kinds of cool stuff. So join us, dfscoachtalk.com. We'd love to have you.
That's right. So we'll see you later today for golf, and we'll be back tomorrow for some more NBA as we look to crush it in DFS.